Shlomo Malacha. You know Shlomo
It's a
Malacha.
shul over there. That's where he goes.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right.
Baruch Hashem.
Keep going.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. You're all holy.
All right, go ahead.
All of God's people are holy.
All right, go ahead.
So don't stop believing, folks. Try to hold on to that feeling.
Yes. Okay, you want to throw this out? Okay. Oops, sorry about that.
So we're discussing the rabbi was not going down on me there. It was like an optical illusion there. I don't want to have. I think we got like a 5-second blooper for.
All right, so we sang, and we still have people who are watching.
Okay, Rabbi Beryl Wine. Despair, merciless criticism, pessimism, bitterness, cynicism. None of these traits and attitudes is acceptable Jewish behavior.
That's true. Except, you know what? I'm guilty of all of them. I've had the same conversation with my own rabbi, you know. Like I said at the top of the show, I don't make a move without him, right? Mm-hmm. So every time I write one of these, you read my book, and it's a compilation of 40 essays, and they're all like doom and gloom, right?
Yeah.
They're all despair. What are these words he uses?
That's for sure. Criticism, pessimism, bitterness, and cynicism.
Yeah, I think
despair and most.
I think my book is pretty much wall to wall with those. Yeah. And each one of them, my rabbi would write back the same thing. He goes, this really isn't the Jewish attitude, and I was like, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So this week's Parsha reminds me of my blog because it's this ongoing recapitulation of past sins. Like, how I go off on my blog about, there was this black girl I knew. And
oh, God, I've heard that story so many times here. People are sick of it. How about the chick in Orlando who you met on the online dating thing, and an hour later she was scratching you?
Yeah, makes me so sad to remember these bouts of wickedness.
And then there was the Asian girl who rubbed your belly. No, it was the fat girl who rubbed.
It was the unattractive girl that rubbed my
belly. And the Asian girl said,
Ching chong, ling long, ting tong.
All right, keep going.
So when God asked Moshe to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt, Moshe says, I'm not a man of words or speech. Yet in Deuteronomy, Moshe talks for the whole book.
That was actually good. You want to know something? That was a hot... Because, I'm 50 years old, right? I've been through the Torah how many times, right? I never thought about that until you mentioned that today. That's actually interesting. He says, I'm not a man of words, and then he spits out an entire sefer of the Sefer Torah. I'm thinking, that is kind of interesting, right? It's like, I'm not a man of words, but here's my book.
So that's what anger and frustration can do to an otherwise reticent and gentle man. Like, he was so frustrated and annoyed and disappointed and let down by the Jewish people. It's kind of like me. Like, words don't come easy to me. I'm just a music man. Melody is so far my best friend. But my words are coming out wrong, and I reveal my heart to you and hope that you believe it's true, because words don't come easy to me. Words don't come easy.
Okay.
Christians often negatively contrast the angry, vengeful killer God of the Old Testament with the loving God of the New Testament. But anger and hatred are morally neutral. There's good anger and there's bad anger. There's good hatred and there's bad hatred. How are you supposed to react to rape, torture, and murder? With love?
Yeah, they always say, the God of, here's the,
You finish your point. Don't look at this until you...
Okay, we're going to go, don't let it go off the top.
Okay,
because, the buffer. Okay, so... Christians, I often hear this, that they'll say, how could you, if you have a... This is like the craziest thing. I hear this thing as like a complaint against, this proves there's no God. This is so stupid. Because if there was a God, then how come there's the Holocaust?
Right.
That's proof there's no God, right?
Right.
And they say that, and if there is a God, and he allowed the Holocaust, then
what kind of God is he?
That's a God I don't want to believe in.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is a person who's really thought it out. Here's a thinker, right? Because if there is a God, right, and he created the Holocaust, and you're going to shut your back on him because he did that, do you think it's going to go better for you or worse? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's just showing you the power he can do, and you're going to now turn your back, you're better than him? Like, he doesn't see you? I'm going to hide behind this rock. So I say to myself, if you read, like you say, the Old Testament, what kind of God do you think we're dealing with? Do you think the Holocaust is something new? Do you think he pulled that suddenly, out of his ass? Like, you see all the kind of stuff that he's capable of and the kind of stuff that he promises, right? Why would he not do the Holocaust? Read, open it up, learn Torah, and you'll see that the Holocaust doesn't disprove him at all. Okay, go ahead.
So we got some genocide in this week's Parsha.
I'm always good for that stuff. I'm into that.
So Deuteronomy chapter 2 verse 33 said that God gave victory to the Jews, and then the Jews killed everybody, men, women, and children, the Sichon. So did God intend this genocide? It says that God gave victory to the Jews, but does that mean that God intended them to wipe out everyone in Sichon? And if it does not say that God commanded the genocide, then it means the Jews did it on their own. So what do you think?
You asked a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And I'm going to give you an answer. You wouldn't know from this week's Parsha, but that's because the Torah is not written in chronological order.
Right.
And in a later Parsha, we're going to learn that Jews were commanded to wipe out the 7 nations of Canaan. So I wrote down the Pesukim for you here. In Devarim 7:2, which we're not there yet, it says, "You shall not make a treaty with the 7 nations of Canaan." In 2016, which is way down the street, right? "You shall not allow any inhabitants of the 7 nations of Canaan to live."
Right.
Okay? And in Devarim 23:7, which is like in a different county, you're forbidden to offer peace to Ammon or Moab. That's 2 of the nations that.
But if it says you're forbidden to offer peace, then it means that they didn't wipe them out. Because if they weren't around anymore, it wouldn't come up that you'd be forbidden to offer them peace. So maybe Moshe...
No. This is backwards. This is backwards. This is in the final year of Moshe's life. I think Rashi explains he writes it with 6 months to live or 3 months to live or something. The whole book of Devarim is at the very, very last year of Moshe Rabbeinu's life. When they're already standing at the river, the Jordan River, and they've already done all these things. They've already beaten all these different people. They're talking about it. Just you see the commandment to do it later on in the book of Devarim. So that's the shot on that. And the reason why Og, you mentioned Og, Sichon Melech Hamori, and the Amorites are one of the 7. The Amorites, or whatever. The Amorim.
Okay, you've done good. Now you're allowed to read the chat.
Okay, doctor. Okay, my cousin saw you in it.
Okay.
Go back to the top, please.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm Shlomo from Pico. Yeah, Rabs has gone numerous times situation for having children. Thank you, D-Medic, because I really don't want to... thanks, D-Medic, for handling.
How about an Angels and Dodgers update? We don't really care about those teams. Unless they're winning.
I know that the Nats were beating Atlanta 2-1. His cousin saw me. I don't know whose cousin. What do you guys think of Karaite Judaism? It's a... what's that word? Oxymoron. Anybody doesn't believe in the Oral Torah, doesn't accept that the Oral Torah was given by God at Mount Sinai, is not following Judaism. Are we good? Did we get everything?
Yeah. So can you give some signs for our viewers out there? I'm going to give some tips, and you can give some tips too. How do you know when a woman's attracted to you? So number 1, if she says, "I want to suck your cock,"
that's usually high.
That's usually a sign of attraction. Or if she says, "I'm really feeling horny," or
right.
"I want you to come over right now," or "I want to get naked with you." But those are like obvious signs. Even our viewers can understand those. What are some tips that you'd give for when you can tell
that a woman likes you?
Yeah, when she gets your phone number from a friend of yours. That's another good tip. But do you have any tips?
When she shows up on your blog every day.
Yeah, or your Facebook.
When she, things like that, or you know what? Here's what I talked about in my book. Women are not like men.
True.
Men are very blunt.